All right, I got the plastic off of it. So this is the way it comes. And there's like a tiny buff there. So let's show you the end that does the business. So we let this thing purge through, get all the air out of the system. This is definitely not what you want to do, but you want to step back. I may do a teetering effect. All right, I got the plastic off of it. So this is the way it comes. Now it comes on a metal crate, but the shipping company guy said that they put it on these kind of like pieces of wood crates they kind of piece together. But the crate, the metal crate is intact completely. I mean, there's like a tiny buff there. But, you know, overall, I'm pretty impressed with the shipping. Got everything out of the crate. The crate that it actually shipped in was a metal container. So everything looks to be pretty well protected. Got a couple of, you know, little scuffs and bumps. This is the claim to fame. It has a hydraulic infeed. And this hydraulic infeed allows it to pull the brush or whatever you're putting into it at a prescribed pace. You can turn it up, make it faster, turn it down, make it slower. And it runs off of the same PTO shaft as the cutter does, and the hydraulic motor right here is where it gets the power off of the back of this PTO shaft. Now I will say this, that it does not come with hydraulic fluid in it. It calls for ISO 32. I am going to take it up a step and use universal tractor hydraulic fluid. And the reason I'm going to do that is because it makes it simple for me to just have the same hydraulic fluid for everything. All right, let's talk about this a little bit. This is the pieces that are laid out. Like I said, this is about 80% done. This is your PTO shaft. It comes with a shear pin or a shear bolt. It's a lighter weight bolt that if you bind your system up, it'll break that shear bolt off. I will probably be upgrading mine to a slip clutch like I did my last wood chipper, and that way you just don't have to worry about it. All right, here's your Infeed bin, your exhaust, the top piece, and then the handle that you push to kind of slow it down. You can actually just push on that handle and it will slow the Infeed down if you start getting in a bind. So I think we're ready to start putting things together. I will say this, there's not one, I don't have any directions with this. There's no directions that come with it. I think the pallet, it may have been blown out or it just got lost in shipping. It's pretty simple, and the pictures are pretty, they have really good pictures, so you can see how to put it together. It's not that hard. So let's show you the end that does the business. Right here, the actual limbs and stuff will come in, the logs will come in right here and hit. And this will cut up to 10 inches. And these are reversible, so they're on either side, and these are replaceable. And one thing I do like about this one that I haven't seen on other, like my other wood chipper, is these little vents right here. They're beefed up, they've got gussets, and this allows, it kind of does a little chopping itself, but it allows the wind to go through here, and it makes a better vortex. So it's got these little fins out to the side. A lot of the other ones don't have this, and this will make it actually throw the little wood chips out better. And then we'll just come back in here and set the top cover on it. It is heavy though, so just be aware of that. This right here, this or the Infeed bin is probably gonna be the heaviest thing. That was probably 50 pounds or so. So you got 2 flat washers on the short boats. So you're going to take one flat washer, put on the inside, one flat washer, put on the outside. You're going to tighten these down to the nylon washers engaged. You don't want this to be locked down. You want it to be tight, but you don't want it to be too tight. And the reason I say that is this has got a hinge open when you get clogged, and you will get clogged. And a nut. This is where the longer bolt goes. I didn't pay attention, but there's a longer one. And it's going to go right here. So it's not going to back off, but it'll let me hinge it. This part of it. Just want to get to the nylon lock nut, because all you want it to do is be tight and not rattle, but you don't want it to be so tight that you can't pivot it up. It's got to be able to pivot. All right. Oh, there we go. So it's really tight on these little ears right here. These little ears. gonna tap them. Okay, just a little tap, and good to go. Keeps it from flopping up. Comes out the other side, and there's a hairpin over here on this side. So this is very similar to the other wood chipper we have. This is a very universal design. A lot of companies use this type of. All right, this is another one you want to tighten them, but you don't want to over tighten them. This thing's got to be able to slip around. So you might go ahead and move it each time you put a screw down, just to make sure that you don't have it too tight. Each one of these are a lock nut. So. All right, right here is the oil tank, and it doesn't come with any oil in it. There's a screen down in there. So what you definitely need to do is at least see oil in there. So you can see the screen down in there, and we'll pour oil in there to get pretty close to the top. So again, I'm using Tractor Universal Hydraulic Fluid. It's a premium hydraulic fluid. It surpasses ISO 32. And the reason I'm doing this is I want all of my oils to be the same, so when I go around and topping things off, I do this with everything. All right, we've got the oil put in this, and I put 5 gallons in it, and it's still a hair, I won't say it's low, but it's tilted. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it, get the air out of it, and then we'll top it off after we've got the air burped out of the system. All right, so what I went ahead and did, I think I talked about this yesterday, is we went ahead and got a slip clutch. I'll leave a link to this where you can get this slip clutch. It's $100, about $100, maybe $120, depending on where you get it, when you get it. But it just takes out the shear pin issue altogether. You don't break a shear pin. So if you hit something, it slips the clutch and doesn't send all of that surge up through your tractor's PTO system. And also, it's just a better, safer way of doing it, I think. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take and measure our shaft length, and that's going to be from the indentation on the PTO of the tractor to the indentation of the PTO on the slip clutch. So it's 24 inches. When I say indentation point, this is where your pin goes in. This is the indentation point for the PTO shaft, and this is the lock. So you're going to measure from the center of this to the center of the one on the other side. And right now, we're about 31 and a half length right now. All right, so I got to put the piece on first here. This could be a $120, $150 mistake. All right, that locked in. Oh, actually, I think I did okay. All right, let me go put the drive shaft the PTO into neutral so it'll turn easier. I can turn the PTO of the tractor versus trying to turn the flywheel. It's got a lot of paint in it. I'm going to put it on level so I can measure the oil level. All right, what I'm going to do now is turn this thing on and basically burp the air out of the system. And we're going to turn the hydraulics on real slow, real low RPMs, and let it prime the system. And then we'll go get all the air out, make sure that it's working, and then we'll go back and from there we'll top off the oil. I'm thinking this thing's going to take like 5 gallons, maybe 6, almost 6 gallons when it's all said and done. We get all the air out of the system. So we let this thing purge through, get all the air out of the system, just run it at a low idle. And this is your Infeed control right here, this bar, no matter where you grab a hold to it. So if you'll look over into this, as I push this down, you'll see the Infeed it's starting to pull stuff in. Now back off and let them see this. as I pull back, now show them it's not moving. And now when I back off again, and when I pull out, it goes into reverse. So if you have a jam or something like that, you can pull it reverse. So in, neutral, reverse. Now we're gonna go through and check our oil, make sure that we have oil in it. So yesterday I put pretty much five gallons in this thing. So this is probably gonna be either a 6 or 7 gallon tank. Doesn't look that big, but apparently it is. I really don't know exactly how much I put into it because one of my oil containers was already open. So I don't really have a firm amount. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, as long as this thing is full, that's all that matters. So this is a little area I'm going to clean up right now. A lot of small trees that are going to fall right in the category of this wood chipper. And this is a lot of our woods. This is going to be a pretty much a recurring thing. So we're going to come in here with a tree saw on the back of the T25 and knock a bunch of this down. And then we'll take and start running those through the wood chipper, make a wood chip pile, and see how it works. We'll have to find a rhythm. It'll work. I feel good about it.
With the rhythm of the music.
Yeah, I want you to sing.
No,
sing for us.
I don't sing.
All right, let me go get the tractor. So I'll stop real quick and talk about this tractor. This is a T25. This is my favorite little tractor, and we've made this almost like a woodland tractor, if you will. It's not a skidder, and it's never going to be a skidder, but we've got a nice grapple on the front. We got the tractor brush guard, tractorbrushguard.com, and you can get your brush guard personalized. Pretty cheap to have it personalized. It's a pretty cool deal. We got this handle right here, which makes a big deal for getting on and off, and we have the chainsaw carrier. This is ITC chainsaw carrier. This is from ITC, and then the step is from ITC. I did not understand how much I liked the step. Listen, I don't care if you get anything else. I'm telling you, the step is worth it's at. I've had both my knees replaced, and that's a pretty good step up. I can do it, but that's just so much easier and safer getting on and off. This handle and that step changes how this tractor is for me to get on and off. All right, it's enough talking. Let's go tear some stuff up.
Not too much though.
Stand back, woman. Now is crank this thing up. It's going to get revved up for the first time, kind of see what it feels like. We're going to turn the Infeed controller there on the side. We'll play with that a little bit just to see how fast we want that Infeed to pull. This is only a 25 horsepower tractor. It's a big frame 25 horsepower, but at the end of the day, we're looking at like 19 horsepower at the PTO. It's not a lot, so we don't want that Infeed to like throw stuff in it real fast. These little elm trees are like wires. They're literally the worst thing you can put through a wood chipper. It's still new though too, and I've got paint on stuff that probably needs to be cleaned off a little bit. Alright. And then we got this little eyelet here. I'll go ahead and collapse it all the way. So that's going to make this as tight as it can get. Alright, now put this back up. And then this pin holds it. I still don't seem like a lot of pressure, but when that pushes that wheel up, it'll tighten the spring up. So we may end up having to do something different on that. The straight parts, it goes through no issues at all. back this nut off here just a little bit so that this comes down easier and doesn't have to fight that. The spring doesn't have to fight. Yeah, I can see already that that's going to make a difference. It's just a little tight from the factory. Probably broke in and been fine anyway, but.
Gizmo, come here. Gizmo.
Clogged up. That little stuff clogged it up. So I still think we have an infeed problem where the infeed is not putting enough pressure on the stuff that's coming in it to actually control it, and it's still letting it yank the little small stuff in, like a little horseshoe. So you could actually put a socket in there. So it's definitely clogged up with all that little stuff.
There's a whole bunch of limbs on the other side.
Yeah, that's clogged up too. This is definitely not what you want to do, but you want to step back. Stuff's going to throw everywhere. So I have some other turnbuckles and things that you could, you know, we could work at, but it doesn't have the, like I don't have a hook here on this one. Really need a hook on one. So what I've done is I went simple. So I think this is another alternative. Just put this little S hook here. There we go. And then I can, so now what I've done is I went ahead and I just nipped a little bit of that off on the end, and I put this onto the chain where it's easy, where I'm actually pushing down. And this makes it where I can latch this in right now with pressure. So it's got pressure on it right now. So when I throw this lever, it's really putting some pressure on it. Here's our end result. We've got the excess chain taken off here, and then we've made it so that we can latch this onto the bottom. I can just pull it in by hand and put enough down pressure that I can get some tension on. Now with this out, there's still some tension on it. Not much, but there's some. So when I flip this up, there's considerable amount of tension on it. And when a tree goes in, it's gonna really stretch this. We've got plenty of spring, you know, distance we can go. I think it's just gonna work better. So overall, I still feel like this is doing well. You just we got to dial it in and tweak it in. That spring thing right there, I think that's going to be a big player because with that Infeed wheel not pushing down hard enough, it was just letting all that little stuff get ripped in there, and then it was just matting it up inside it. It didn't have a chance to chew it up. If you let it come in a little at a time, it's going to nip it off in little bitty pieces, and it's just going to blow it out. So that was the other wood chipper I had. It was doing the same thing, but it didn't have an Infeed. So I think now we've got the Infeed. We've loosened these bolts up. We've put more tension on the spring. I think it's going to do better. Again, we are brutalizing this wood chipper because this is elm, and elm sucks. It's the worst wood in the world to chip. It's hard. It's got wiry limbs that are just basically like cables. So this is a true test. Most like oak, tulip poplar, all the other hardwoods, gonna go through this thing, not even think twice about it. Uh-oh, I turned my Infeed down. There it goes. Clogged up again. After reviewing this video, I realized it's not clogged up again. I just didn't clean out the clog very well. However, we did find another problem, and I'll show you right here. Did we not get everything out of that chute? That's all the way out. All right, I see all the way to the ground. So.
What about in here? There's
I mean, it's still there.
Up in there.
Let me spin it one more time.
Okay, hang on. Let me get out the way. Come on, Gizmo. Come on.
So if you can look right there, you see the blade. The hammer is on this end down here. It's roughly, 32nds of an inch, 16th of an inch away. But at the other end of the blade, it is, I don't know, quarter, maybe 3/8 of an inch away. So we're going to have to adjust that. Let me show you what's going on here. There's 3 bolts on the very bottom. These 3 bolts right down here, they are what adjusts your hammer in and out. One side was way out, and the other side, I say way out, like 3/8 of an inch, and the other side was like a 32nd, maybe a 16th of an inch. So if you look down, show them down inside there, and rotate the blade around so they can see it go by the hammer. We've got the tractors PTO in neutral.
Hang on, I gotta get this down some more so I can see.
Yeah, let's see. So as the blade's got 4 blades, and as each blade goes by, you want that gap to be the same. Like I said, one side was really far away, like 3/8 of an inch, and the other side was like a 16th of an inch. So if we want our chips to be about 1/16 of an inch thick, you want that gap to be about 1/16 of an inch thick. And if the thinner your gap, the less you're going to get clogged from the little stuff, because it's going to mulch better. However, it does take horsepower away. All right, let me talk you through what we've done. Obviously, we have assembled this thing. The only thing extra that we've done to it is that we put a slip clutch on it, because I don't like shear bolts. So we bypassed that issue. The Infeed was not working correctly. The spring was a little too loose, and after adjusting it all the way to the tightest point, it still was not providing enough down pressure to keep from having the little things to get pulled in really fast, and that was causing it to get clogged up. The other issue was you have 4 blades on the flywheel, and on that flywheel, it goes by an anvil, and that anvil needs to be a certain distance away from the blade. Well, one end of the blade was about 3/8 of an inch away from the anvil. The other was about a 16th of an inch away. It needs to be about a 16th or a quarter. It needs to be even all the way across. And what that'll do is cause it to make even chops and cut up, everything in a uniform manner. And the way it was setting up, I was getting big chunks on one end and little chunks on the other, and it was clogging it up. It has another issue of clogging it up. All right, so we got that adjusted out. I showed you how to do that. Somebody might, don't say, hey, it should have come from the factory. Yes, it should have come from the factory properly set. However, these are expendable items. You will have to replace these just like more blades. So yes, if it had come from the factory perfectly set up, it would have saved you that day's work. However, when next year when you go to start doing this all over again, you go put new blades in it, you're going to have to learn how to do that anyway. So anyway, I'm not giving up on this stupid elm tree. That thing was horrible. I'm not giving up on it. We're going to go back through now and chop that up, and then we're going to go down and do some tulip poplar. I'm putting this thing through the worst up front, and then we'll go down and do some normal stuff. We don't have very much elm anyway. It so happens there's a grove of elm right here. But we're going to go ahead and put some tulip poplar, some oak. Those are pleasures to cut through a wood chipper. Elm, I don't care what wood chipper is made. It sucks because they're like wire. All right, let's crank it up and get at it. There we go. Here goes nothing.
don't want to sound like I am defending this wood chipper, but right here I'm going to defend this wood chipper. These elm trees, the limbs like come off at a 90-degree angle, and I physically cannot break one of the limbs. They're so much like a cable. And what happened is the infeeder just cannot pull those in and break the limbs coming off at a 90-degree angle. And it's just, elm is just an impossible wood. It'd be a great thing if I had a set of loppers here where I could just lop off those limbs. Yeah, I got frustrated with it and finally give up.
This is why I hate elm. And I'm going to cut every elm on my whole entire property down. I hate elm. All right, we learned a lot. We learned how to adjust the blades out to the anvil. That made a huge difference. We put some small stuff through it, didn't get clogged up. That's a big, the distance between the blades and anvils is very, very important if you don't want to get clogged up. Also, how fast that you pull the stuff in, that's also very, very important. One other adjustment we could do, if you look down into this hopper, you can see that there's approximately 1/4 of an inch space between the bottom of the Infeed drive and the actual bottom. So we could actually do some tweaking on that and get that just a little bit closer. And what that would do is really, grab a hold of the small stuff. Right now, there's just too much space on it. I think I will go ahead and just adjust that out real quick. So right here, this is the screw that I'm adjusting right now. Every time I turn the screw down a little bit, it's lowering this head down and letting it get closer to the bottom of the Infeed floor. Now if you look right here, so we've lowered those teeth, and we need to make sure that the teeth are not touching the bottom of the floor, but we get them as close as we possibly can, because what's going to happen is that's going to let the little stuff get pulled in. The bigger your gap, the less of the little stuff you're going to get pulled in, the less effective it's going to be. So there's definitely some fine tuning. And then I got this lock, like this jam nut. We'll tighten that back up. It really is like tuning a piano, isn't it? How funny, that's a good example.
Come here. Baseball, come here.
So this is where the Infeed's really working well. Got nice chips. I stopped it, pull it back out, have it go back in. I'm running the wheel really slow, probably a little too slow. All right, this is a pretty good sized piece here. This is probably bigger than what it's rated for. We'll see. That's everything. I mean, it took it all through.
There's a long one.
All right, I think we got it dialed in. Now, where this is going to really be handy is up by the sawmill. When we cut off the cutoffs, oak, straight boards, no limbs, nothing left, just slabs of wood. And we're going to have all that hardwood. This is tulip poplar. I think there's a couple of oaks in this as well. So it's not really going to be great mulch. It'll last for a little while, but tulip poplar will rot down. When we get up there and start doing the white oak and red oak, that mulch will last a long time. So, and it's going to keep us from having to do all those burn piles.
And it will help us clean up after cutting down stuff.
If we'd have had this last year, when we did all this would have been a lot. We could have just cut it down as we cut it down.
Yeah.
We would have just, went as we cut it down. That made no sense, really.
It's all right.
Yeah, I'm tired. All right, so I got another test I want to do before we call this day over, and I feel like we're on a good track right now. It did really good with the elm now that the blades and the anvil are in line correctly. The Infeed is set pretty well. I feel pretty comfortable about that. So what we're gonna do is grind up some of this old stuff that we've got laying around. This is some oak. There's some tulip poplar. There's some white oak in here, which is going to be extremely hard and should be a good test. So this is a red oak board. A lot of rot on it. Some of it's hard.
Gizmo, come here.
You could definitely tell where the rotten part was, and it got to the end, there's still some solid board left. That you could hear it, but it did a great job. So here's another piece of, this is solid, and it's, I think this is white oak, so this is gonna be really hot.
I still need some mulch for my blackberry area, for my bushes.
Mulch coming up. That was roughly, what, 8 inches wide by 1 inch of white oak. I don't know how it's going to do with this really thin stuff. It may clog it. did all right. So this is white oak that is a little rotten on this end, but it's gonna be really hard on this. 1 inch, probably inch and an eighth. So
There's some thin pieces right there I won't be able to use. You can shred those.
those little thin pieces.
Thin pieces. But the ones that you just shred, the two big ones, I can use those. But the thin ones, I can be able to do nothing with them.
Yeah. Well, that right there was about 8 inches wide, and it was pretty solid. I think it. And it did well. But you just got to kind of adjust the end feed a little bit. So this is a little thin piece of white oak. So that's a big piece of wood. Got a lot of rod in it. This is a big ask for a 25 horsepower tractor. I think if we had this on the 474, it would just rip through this, but I'm having to really slow the infeed down. Okay, so I feel pretty good about the whole thing. We ask a lot of this mulcher, especially on a 25 horsepower tractor. I feel pretty confident if we put this on a 48 horsepower tractor, we would have had none of these issues as far as slowing down. I think we got it dialed in pretty good that we can, that's how often are you going to do a, 2.5 inch by, well, that was like 2.5 inch by 7
Something
piece
like
of white
that,
oak.
yeah.
That's a lot. Most time you're going to keep that and use it. I just want to test it. So right now, after we got everything adjusted, the little things that are like quirks figured out, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, we tuned the wood chipper.
Tuned the wood chipper, just like you do a piano.
Yep.
Listen, I appreciate you watching this. I would love to hear all your comments. God bless. Have a great day.